Jury selection in Lori Vallow Daybell's latest trial delayed yet again because the so-called doomsday mom says she was too sick to be in court.
The I-Team's Erica Stapleton was in the courtroom as this all unfolded today. And Erica, what does this mean for the trial that was supposed to get started today?
Well, Tram Troy, at this point, everything is delayed until Wednesday now. And the only word I can use to describe what unfolded in court this morning is dramatic. This is Lori Vallow Daybell's third trial in under 3 years. She was first convicted in Idaho for killing her children, Tylee and JJ, and her role in the death of her husband's first wife. In April, she was convicted in Arizona for conspiring to kill her former husband. This next trial, she's accused of conspiring to kill her niece's ex-husband. Vallow Daybell is representing herself, and she's pleaded not guilty. The jury was supposed to be seated on Friday, but that got bumped to this morning. But again, Lori Vallow Daybell apparently wasn't feeling well. At one point, she was wheeled into the courtroom in an MCSO wheelchair with her hand on her head. She told the judge she had, quote, a terrible headache, nausea, chills. The judge wanted to proceed with jury selection as not to delay the trial any further and asked her if her advisory team could do it. But Vallow Daybell said she has a right to represent herself and that she wants to be there. She said she felt like she was, quote, dragged out of bed in her cell this morning and that she was sorry she was sick. She didn't plan on being sick. Vallow Daybell appeared to become increasingly agitated in a recording of the hearing obtained by 12 News. And a note, the court's video quality of this is pretty poor, but you can still clearly hear Vallow Daybell and the judge.
I don't know about you rescheduling this for Wednesday. It puts a lot of pressure on me to be better and ready for Wednesday. And if I'm not, I don't like to disappoint people. I don't like putting people out of their way, all the jurors and all these things, and all the pressure is on me. That's not going to help me get any better anytime soon. You're welcome to come over to the jail and come to my cell and see how I'm doing in there.
All right, I'll take a pass on that.
Well, Erica and attorney Logan Elia from Rose Law Group join me now. Logan, you just heard that. You know, Erica called it dramatic this morning. What do you make of all of this?
So I don't know whether she's ill or she's not ill. The court is making the right decision by continuing jury selection. They don't want to give an appeal point. If she is ill and she's representing herself, she's acting as her own counsel, and she's not able to focus, then that's a real due process violation to force her to proceed. I mean, think about it if it were a lawyer who was very ill representing her and said, I just can't do it today, Your Honor. The defendant would say, we need a continuance, and she's functioning as the attorney. As a point of strategy, I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, I'll add that this is coming on the heels of Lori Vallow Daybell trying to get this judge off of her case. And he made a point today, again, having covered her for the past 5+ years, I've never seen her like this in a courtroom before. She even told the judge, you know, I've been incarcerated all this time and I've only ever been sick one other time, and it wasn't during, you know, trial period like this. But the judge made a point to say, you know, if there is a delay, if this gets bumped into July, August, like, I will still be your trial judge. So as you talk about strategy, it maybe that's, who knows if that's something that's actually happening, but the judge did ask too, well, hey, can I see records of you trying to request, you know, medications or anything like that today? And she said she would gladly show him. She invited him to her cell. So certainly,
which I thought was a little odd.
Yeah.
Like, hey, here's proof, you know, come to my cell to see how bad I am.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's a little odd.
The concern that I would have if I were her about this strategy is the jury instruction to the jury pool on Friday was to not ask anybody about this or look up information. But it doesn't necessarily say specifically, don't watch the local news. My concern would be a juror goes home and watches a story speculating about whether she is sick or isn't sick and decides, I think she's lying, and that the damages her credibility. Yeah. You know, that's a small risk, and ideally a juror would be honest and say that they'd had that experience. But if they're not, there's a real downside, and there's no upside to a 2-day delay here for her.
No, and I would point out too that this doesn't impact just the possible jurors here, but it impacts the prosecutor, who's now had to reschedule witnesses, some coming from out of state. As we know, this case has impacted people in multiple states, and you know, I don't think anyone wanted to see the delay here. And the judge was also, I think, again, he tries very hard to not maybe, you know, have a poker face in the courtroom and not really show how he's feeling. But you could tell he was frustrated that this is how they had to proceed. But again, to your point, I think you have to err on caution in this case.
I think you especially err on caution, and especially when you're dealing with a defendant who's already incarcerated for other convictions. Delay in that case, what's the big deal? I mean, yes, it inconveniences the state, but it doesn't really inconvenience her at all.
Yeah. But I think it's just everybody's so antsy,
Yeah.
you know, to move forward. And then we're hitting the brakes again for the second time. So you don't think that it could possibly have any effect on the jury or maybe even the trial?
So like I said, it runs a risk of reducing the size of the jury pool. If jurors were to learn about the case over the delay, then they could be struck for cause. But otherwise, no, it's going to be the same pool of jurors. The people who were there today are coming back on Wednesday, and they're going to do the exact same thing on Wednesday. And all of this happened outside of the presence of the jury. They don't know.
They don't know.
And a quick note, the judge said he's never seen anything like this before. He had to profusely apologize to those potential jurors. And yeah, everything's set to hopefully continue Wednesday in this case.
All right, well, we'll see. Hopefully she feels better. All right, Logan, Erica, thank you so very much.